If you need help in prepping your laminate furniture for paint and want to learn the difference between laminate and wood veneer, then stick around and watch this video. Laminate consists of layers of paper and resin that are hardened under high pressure, so it's going to look and feel like plastic. It's also going to be really shiny, and the wood grain is going to look like it was printed on. Whereas wood veneer is thin sheets of wood that are glued onto core panels such as MDF or particle board. So here I have the nightstand that goes with that dresser that I showed in the beginning, but what I want to do is use this as an example to show what laminate looks like compared to wood veneer. So I'm going to take my scraper and try to scrape off the top of this piece, and you can see that it's just flaking off little pieces of resin. When I start scraping the side of it, you can see that I'm actually removing finish and stain, and what is underneath is the wood veneer. So now looking at them side by side, you can see how fake that grain looks on the top compared to the grain that's on the side on the veneer. To prep the laminate for paint, I take a brand new piece of sandpaper on my orbital sander, anywhere between 60 to 80 grit. Your main goal here is to rough up the surface enough that your primer has something to stick to. You can see as soon as I started sanding that it turned cloudy white, so I'll continue to sand until the whole top is this color. Also, make sure that when you are sanding this, you're wearing a good mask because you don't want to be breathing this dust in. Here it is after the laminate and veneer has been completely sanded, and you can really tell the difference between the two. The next step is to prime, and this is my favorite primer to use on all of my furniture flips because it's water-based, so it's easy to clean up, it's stain blocking, and it dries really fast. It does say you can use this without sanding your surfaces, but I found that to not be true, and in a little bit I'll actually show you an example of that. Clean off any remaining dust after sanding, and then you can put your first coat of primer on. You can use a brush, a roller, or a paint sprayer. I've used all three. I personally like to either roll it or spray it on. After the first coat has dried, I'll take 600 grit sandpaper and go over the surface to remove any dust particles that may have settled while it was drying, and this will also ensure that you get a really smooth finish in the end. After everything has been sanded, I'll go ahead and add a second coat of primer. After I do the second coat, I do like to let my pieces sit for 24 hours before adding paint, just to ensure that everything is good and dry. After everything is good and dry, I'll sand one more time, and then I'll do a scratch test. So what I do is I take a coin and I just scratch pretty hard and see if any of that paint is coming off. So this is an example of what I mean when I say the primer doesn't stick. This is the same laminate top, I just didn't sand it, and I put my primer down, and I'm going to do a scratch test, and you can see the paint is just coming right off. So if your furniture passes the scratch test, then you can go on ahead and add your paint. This is the top after 2 coats of paint and 2 coats of polyurethane, and I'm doing the same scratch test, and you can see that paint is not moving. So having laminate furniture isn't necessarily a bad thing, and some of it is actually really good quality. But if you're gonna paint it, just make sure that you do really good prep work to ensure your paint is gonna last for a really long time. I hope this video was helpful and that you learned something new, and if you're interested in more furniture flip tips and ideas, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel.